came a spaceship sailing, passing us, making a curve, going down south and coming in from the south, passing over our heads and disappearing to the north. And 1 hour later, it came back and passed in low altitude, and it passed the moon, which has come up meanwhile, so you could see it was an Adamski-type saucer. I've been so close to them. I have had the telemeter dish, the small flying saucers which are making reconnaissance within 75 meters, 2 of them. I have one being disintegrated on my terrace. I have seen flying saucers, the George Adamski type, within 200 meters in front of my car. I have seen 2 flying saucers land, both cases with my wife, so I had a witness.
The founder of the German UFO Society, Carl Veit, is also a publisher of UFO books. For decades, he has published books written by contactees. Many years ago, he had the foresight to realize the value of the information.
There were 12 of us sitting in the garden, and the pictures were shown by this television man. And I explained them again as well as I could. And in the middle of my explanation, the baby daughter, she was the youngest member of this family, called out, "Daddy, what is that?" and pointed up. We were all looking at the screen, and then we also looked, and there vertically above us, or nearly vertically, there was a wonderful large UFO, rather low. Of course, we were all amazed. We gazed up, we waved, and in a way gave thanks that they had come during the UFO lecture and wished to greet us, or to say, "Yes, we are here, the ones you're talking about."
Tony Dodd is a retired British police sergeant who had a close encounter with a UFO. Since that time, he has become the Director of Investigations for Quest International, Europe's largest UFO investigation organization.
I was driving a police patrol vehicle in a remote area in Yorkshire when I saw the most amazing disc-shaped flying machine. This machine was about 100 meters off the road, above the road. It was glowing white, bright white. It had colored lights rotating round the underside of it. It had a dome on the top with what appeared to be portholes. It was going at no more than 30 kilometers per hour. But the strange thing was that it was making no sound. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. This was no doubt a real UFO. I'm convinced of this. It did not resemble anything that we have which is flying around in the sky. It had an effect on my police car radio. It blanked out the transmissions with a very heavy static effect. The object moved away from us and disappeared into the distance and appeared to land in a forest on a hillside.
George once told me that they work in all countries, all over the world. And they live among us, they have jobs. One day, George met a couple in New York on Fifth Avenue. He was looking in a shop in the window, and a couple passed him with a little boy between them. And he got this strange feeling that they were space people. And he put a thought towards them. Are you space people? Then come back. They turned around and came back and said, your thought is correct.
Adamski was given insight into the purpose of his life by his extraterrestrial friends.
And in this sense, all these people who have come into contact with extraterrestrial beings are confronted with these wonderful facts, and they have also had an insight into their lives. Why they are here. That's what was also said to George Adamski, that he should, so to say, be a pioneer in the field of ufology, because in the development of the human race, we now face great, higher problems.
Our first face-to-face contact with a member of your race in modern times was a man called George Adamski. He was chosen because of his astronomical awareness and placid naivete, coupled with a cosmological awareness. During our contact, he was told many things which he was asked to pass on to mankind, and was forewarned of the ridicule he would be exposed to. He showed high integrity and learned quickly the significance of our intentions. He was the ideal subject for our first contact. He created a chain reaction of awareness which continues to spread at the present time. He was the first seed sown by us to open the eyes of your world.
The first thing that made me realize that there was definitely something else happening was as a result of the first sighting. After this, using my policeman's mind, I used to watch in the area where I'd seen this thing. And over a period of time, I saw many more of them. And it got to a fairly regular event. And I saw them at close range. I saw them doing aerobatics, almost on occasions as if they were doing them for me, on very remote hillsides. And then on one occasion, one came past, it flew over my head, and I flashed a light at it. And this thing turned around and came back. And as it got above my head, this was only about 25 feet above the ground. It had a long light on the front of it, a long elliptical shaped light. And as it got to my position, the light increased intensity, went down, and then increased intensity and went down again, almost as if it was signaling me back. And then it turned and flew off again. I knew at this time this was an intelligently controlled machine who was acknowledging my signal. I was certain before this time that there were alien craft flying around, but this particular incident really convinced me of this.
So where are our alien visitors coming from? Or is it possible that they've been here all the time? If so, where?
Military and civil airline pilots from around the world have constantly reported having the most unusual experiences in the skies, including contact with UFOs. On September 19, 1979, a UFO followed a military aircraft over Germany. This is a close-up of the object. This B-52 Canberra bomber was flying over Edwards Air Force Base in California in 1954 when a UFO was seen near the aircraft. Here is a close-up of the UFO. Many pilots flying B-52 bombers reported seeing UFOs. This one was photographed at 12,000 feet in June 1966 over Utah by aircraft pilot Williams. An aircraft over Venezuela had a close encounter with a UFO. This photograph was taken from the plane. In June 1976, the British Airways Concorde was being filmed in flight when a small UFO appeared. After maneuvering around the plane in a manner that indicated intelligent control, the UFO flew off at great speed. This was witnessed by the whole crew. Here is a replay in slow motion. Of the hundreds of UFO sightings made by aircraft pilots every year, the most amazing one was filmed from a commercial airliner by passenger Gene Oldfield as the aircraft cruised at 9,000 feet over Stafford, England on April 2, 1966. The film clearly shows the ability of the craft to perform maneuvers and feats of acceleration far beyond our present comprehension. Here is the film again in slow motion. This was one of the early films taken of a UFO. The dramatic movement of the object showed rapid, almost instantaneous changes of speed and direction, which sparked intense curiosity and confusion among the public and scientific community. No earthly aircraft of the time could perform like this. While filming from a helicopter for the U.S. Navy on April 15, 1966, Lee Hansen, a professional photographer, shot these pictures of a flying object at Catalina Island, California. The craft, which had no wings or tail fins, was 30 feet in diameter and moving at approximately 150 miles per hour. No signs of a propulsion system were visible. This film, shot by James Waters in Colorado on July 23, 1963, shows a UFO moving across the sky at tremendous speed, followed by a second one. This is the same film at 1/12th speed. An analysis showed that no earthly aircraft could possibly fly so fast. In late December 1978, a record number of UFO sightings were being reported by radar operators and pilots in the area of Wellington, New Zealand. Just before midnight on December 30th, 1978, Quentin Fogarty, a reporter, and a television team took off in an Argosy aircraft to fly to Christchurch. Shortly after takeoff, Fogarty was informed by ground radar that they were being followed by several UFOs. During the 50-minute flight, UFOs were seen and filmed by the crew. The UFOs were described as having a luminous base and a transparent top. The objects were performing incredible aerobatics. This movement was captured on a single frame of film.
We have been present in your skies for hundreds of Earth years, but because of camouflage devices, you have been unable to observe us. Your cosmic evolution has now developed and the time has arrived for you to ascertain the existence of other life in your universe, resulting in us making our presence known to you. Our choice of contacts has been governed by their spiritual ability to comprehend our manifestations without anxiety or aggression.
The movements of our vehicles in the air, which you find so strange, is due to the fact that we have overcome the force which you call inertia and can fly in any direction instantly without experiencing any form of pressure change. Our propulsion systems work on the principle of electromagnetism, where gravity is of no significance. The three spheres sometimes seen below our craft are our drive systems, but can be detached individually to function as surveillance probes. The magnetic pole within the axis of our craft has many functions. It contains periscopic lenses for high magnitude observation and assists in the absorption of static power for recharging purposes.
It seems to me quite clear that a humanoid civilization will very likely try to find other humanoid civilizations in the Milky Way, if we just take the Milky Way as our place for travel. I'm not talking about extragalactic civilization now. The possibility of finding humanoid civilizations would always be of interest. Just like our astronauts, if we send them away in the search for life, will very likely try to find life which is a kind which is similar. If an astronaut has a chance to visit a planet where there's plant life or insect life, or another planet where there's humanoid life, he very likely will travel to the planet where there is humanoid life. And so it should not surprise us that the extraterrestrial visitors are always described as being humanoid.